right, let's talk about the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Hall of Fame. You guys want to talk about it? Let's talk about it. It's entertaining to me, not because I care, but because it's worth talking about. So the list is out, and we have a list of the people who were voted in and the people who missed it. All right? So we're going to give the people who were voted in, and then we're going to go to the real meat of the matter, which is the people who didn't get in. But even more important than that is how many votes some people got over others. That's going to be a very interesting conversation. But let's give people the opportunity to know what at least were the criteria. Well, you have to get 60% of the vote in your region. So there's an American region, a Mexican region, a United States, Mexico, Japan, I think Europe. You have to get 60% of the vote in that region, which means 60% of the people who voted in that region had to have voted for you in order for you to become a Hall of Famer. And the criteria is journalists, people in the business. Again, some of these people are well known. Some of these people are not. Some people, I think Brian Solomon, Jonathan Snowden, they have come out and said they're voters. Some people vote, some people don't. But when you look at how some of the voting shook out, it should tell you that there's probably a lot of young people in this thing. There's a lot of modern bias. There's a lot of modern political bias. Also, when you look at some of the outcomes from this thing, now, of course, I don't have access to the entire issue. I don't subscribe to the Wrestling Observer newsletter. I will say this, though. I did pick up a couple of interesting tidbits along the way that I will also share. But let's get into who got in first. Antonino Rocca and Miguel Perez, they got in as a tag team with 63.2% of the vote, which was up from 57% the previous year or 2021. Now, Antonino Rocca, for those of you who don't know, was basically Bruno Sammartino before Bruno. The WWF was always built around one guy. Before it was Bruno, it was Antonino Rocca. His tag team partner was Miguel Perez. They were a very popular tag team. So if you don't know anything about wrestling, you should know that. They probably should have already been in this Hall of Fame, but they got in. The Beauty Pair got in. They're, I think, a Japanese tag team, Japanese women's tag team. They got 63% of the vote. Sergeant Slaughter got 62.9% of the vote. Jack and Jerry Briscoe, of course, the Briscoe brothers, they should have already been in the Hall of Fame, but they weren't, apparently. And they got 61.3% of the vote. Tomohiro Ishii. 60.9% of the vote for Tomohiro Ishii in the Japanese category. Blue Panther, who I'm guessing is Mexican, 60.6% of the vote. And George Kidd, who I'm not for sure who that is. And I'm assuming it's probably European, because I don't know that much about European wrestling history. So we're going to just say they voted for him. Congratulations to George Kidd. Now, there's a list of people who did not get in. We're not going to go through the entire list. But we're going to list some of the important people who didn't get in. And then we're going to get into who got the most votes and who got the most votes percentages, etc. So the following people were on the ballot that they could have voted for that they did not get in. Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, the Young Bucks, Roman Reigns, the British Bulldogs, Dynamite Kid and Davey Boy Smith, CM Punk, Jim Johnston, Ted Turner, Mike Tenay, the Junkyard Dog, Larry Matisic, the Von Erichs, that'd be Kevin, David, and Kerry, Mark and Jay Briscoe, Randy Orton, Edge, Tony Schiavone, Brett and Jim the Anvil Neidhart as the Hart Foundation, Rick and Scott Steiner, Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson, and Bill Goldberg. So those are a lot of people who are very important for one reason or another. And you may say you don't know some of these people that I mentioned. I'll explain to you. Larry Matisik was the guy who ran the St. Louis Wrestling Club after um, uh, Sam Mushnick retired. So he kind of kept the history of St. Louis wrestling alive. He was a wrestling historian. He actually sold out to Vince for a little while, but he's a very significant figure in St. Louis wrestling. So that's why I mentioned him. He probably should already have been in here in terms of historical value. Somebody like him should have already been in. Same thing with Sputnik Monroe, who was one of the guys who helped integrate wrestling. Probably should have already been in. But so we're not going to get into all of that because that would make this video exceptionally long. We're just going to talk about what you guys want to talk about, which is how in the hell did the Young Bucks get more votes than Roman Reigns? And that's exactly what happened. But it's not just that the Young Bucks got more votes than Roman Reigns. The Young Bucks got 183 votes. That's 55.1% of the vote. The Young Bucks got more votes than Roman Reigns, the British Bulldogs, CM Punk, the Junkyard Dog, the Von Erichs, the Briscoes, Randy Orton, Edge, the Steiner Brothers, the Hart Foundation, the Brain Busters, and Bill Goldberg. Understand, like, when everybody gets real tight-assed about the Young Bucks having more votes than Roman Reigns, understand, they got more votes than the Steiner Brothers. They got more votes than the Von Erichs. They got more votes than the Von Erichs. They are more popular than the Von Erichs. Among this voting class, these people, there was enough of these people, these flat-scan, brain-dead dipshits. They voted for the Young Bucks over the Steiner Brothers, over the Von Erichs. Not even Roman Reigns and CM Punk, who are polarizing figures. How do you give the Young Bucks more votes than the Hart Foundation, more than the British Bulldogs? How? How do you come to that conclusion? Please sit down and explain to me how the Young Bucks are more influential, more famous, sold more tickets, or did anything more than the other tag teams that I've just listed. How? Now, I could probably say the same thing like Paul Orndorff. Very close. Why is Paul Orndorff not already in here? I don't know. Paul Orndorff was a big draw. How is he not already in here? How is Junkyard Dog, who was a huge draw, how is he not already in here? Now, a lot of the younger fans who are looking at this, they're not that familiar. So they're probably like, man, why is CM Punk and Roman Reigns not in here? Okay, they're not in there yet. These guys are not old enough. Some people on this list are very old. You look at somebody like Paul Orndorff, he should have already been in here. The Bulldog should have already been in here. I am flabbergasted by some of this stuff, bro. Like, I'm legit flabbergasted. Now, to be fair, Roman was pretty close. He was 8% off. He got 52% of the vote. Another 8% and Roman would have gotten into the Hall of Fame. There were people who openly said that, even Dave Meltzer has come out and openly said that Roman Reigns should be in there. But apparently people did not, everybody else didn't agree, let's say. Now, Randy Orton. Randy Orton is an interesting figure when it comes to this Hall of Fame. Now, the reason why he's an interesting figure is because somebody let it slip that among retired wrestlers, Randy Orton got the most votes. So of people who literally worked, Randy Orton got the most votes. And yet, when you look at the overall vote, he only got 31%. That's much less than Roman. So here's a list of people who got more votes than Randy Orton. The Von Erichs, which is the right decision. But Mark and Jay Briscoe got more votes than Randy Orton? How? How could that be? Now, I get it that, Jay Briscoe just passed away, so they're kind of a sentimental favorite. But they shouldn't have gotten more votes than Randy Orton. Shingo Takagi, but that's Japan. I'm going to look strictly at the United States. But Mike Tenay got more votes than Randy Orton. Ted Turner got more votes than Randy Orton. CM Punk obviously got more votes than Randy Orton. Of course, the Young Bucks and Roman Reigns and Paul Orndorff got more votes than Randy Orton. Amazing. But Randy Orton got more votes than Edge. Got 2 more votes than Edge. Edge had 102 votes. I'm not tripping. Look, I don't care about this crap, but when I look at the Steiner brothers and they only got 25% of the vote, they only got 83 votes. The Steiner brothers, Rick and Scott Steiner, 83 votes. That's it. They only got 50. They actually went down apparently because they got 52% of the vote. I'm guessing in 2021 or last year, however that went. And now they only got 25%. How did it go down? How did the Steiner brothers well, clearly, because there's probably some political actors there who said we're not voting for Rick Steiner. Because of the whole thing with Giselle Shaw. We're not voting for Rick Steiner. So we're going to sink the Steiner brothers down to 25% of the vote. You got to be kidding me. You got to be shitting me. But that's the world that we live in. So let's go into some of the other tidbits I've been able to find. Like I said before, the person who got the most votes from retired wrestlers was Randy Orton. But we also got a little bit more information that I was able to find. So it says, those who hit 60% with reporters, I'm not going to use every name, were Tomohiro Ishii, Sergeant Slaughter, the Young Bucks, Big Daddy, Paul Orndorff, Ted Turner, and Antonino Rocca and Miguel Perez. So reporters is the ones who voted for the Young Bucks. Those are the only people who like the Young Bucks this much. Is wrestling fucking media. They're the only people who like the Young Bucks this goddamn much. How could that be the case? Why are they so popular among reporters? Can somebody explain that to me? How is it that this media has inflated how these guys? How could it be? I don't understand this. Among historians, it was Rocca and Perez. What was his name? George Kidd. What was this? Payo? I don't remember what the first name is. Blue Panther, the Beauty Pair, the Dinamitas, Roman Reigns, Jack and Jerry Briscoe. So, of those who hit 60% among historians, Roman Reigns was on that list, and so were the Briscoes, and so were, a bunch of the, people who actually did get in. Among active professionals, it was Sergeant Slaughter, the Beauty Pair, Hayabusa, who is apparently not in this thing either, Mike Tenay, Blue Panther, Johnny Saint, Roman Reigns, and the Steiners, who made the 60% level. So the Steiners were popular among active professionals, but apparently not among the reporters or the historians. I don't know. Among retired wrestlers, it was Randy Orton, Larry Matisic, Jack and Jerry Briscoe, Roman Reigns, Manami Toyota, and Toshio Yamada. I know who Manami Toyota is, so I probably wouldn't be able to tell you who it is from a picture, but I've heard her name before. But among retired professionals, seems to be the most rational choices is Randy Orton, Larry Matisic, Jack and Jerry Briscoe, Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns might be like, why Roman Reigns? But, the guy's on top of the business right now. People are looking at it like, you're a fool if he's not in. But there's 4 categories of people here listed. Reporters, historians, active professionals, and retired professionals. Only among reporters did the Young Bucks get 60%. Meaning most of the people who voted for the Young Bucks were wrestling reporters. Why? I don't think we'll ever get an answer to that question that'll be an honest one. But I'm not too concerned with it. Look, I can tell you this. I didn't concern myself with Mexico or Japan because I think that those are highly specialized and requires a lot more people to know a lot more about those regions. So, the idea about, Tomohiro Ishii being in the Hall of Fame is ridiculous to me because I don't like him. But I mean, if people are up on their Japanese pro wrestling and they say that he deserves to be in, then okay, sure, whatever. Uh, I don't see the appeal of that human tree stump, but other people do. So it is what it is. But when you talk about that American region, and I'm looking at the Steiner brothers being so far away and the Young Bucks being so close, I'm flabbergasted. When I see the Heart Foundation or the Brain Busters being down in the 20% era, and the Young Bucks get twice as many votes and twice as high of a percentage, that's ridiculous. And it's even ridiculous that Roman Reigns got more votes than the Heart Foundation. It's more ridiculous that Roman Reigns got more votes than the Steiner brothers. That's even ridiculous. So of course I'm going to shit on the Young Bucks for getting more votes than that. It's ludicrous for CM Punk to have more votes than the Heart Foundation. It's ridiculous for CM Punk to have more votes than Randy Orton. All right? It's ludicrous. It's stupid. The voting criteria needs to be changed, or it needs to be made more stringent or something. And there's plenty of people like Big Daddy, who is apparently a huge wrestler from Europe. I'm not really a huge fan. I've tried to watch some footage. He's just a fat guy. I don't know what what Europe saw in him, but he was apparently super popular at a specific point in time. He's like one of the most popular guys ever to come out of Europe, and he's not in the Hall of Fame. I get that. That might be frustrating for people who vote in the European category, because a lot of people are kind of look at this and say, like, what is going on with the validity of this thing if somebody like Big Daddy can't get in? And we've been saying the same thing about the Junkyard Dog. Huge draw in Louisiana as a wrestler. One of the most popular baby faces in territory history can't get into the Hall of Fame. Why is that? Why are people voting for Roman Reigns and CM Punk and not the Junkyard Dog? Like, what's going on? And then that's when I realized you can't care enough about this stuff, because the various different categories look at various different elements of specialization. There's going to be people who are historians, but they're more Mexican wrestling historians. They're more historians for Japanese wrestling. And they may not care that much about the history of American wrestling. So they may not vote for certain people in the American wrestling category because they don't really care that much about it. Same for Japan. Same for, how this thing is put together. Certain people are going to be disadvantaged, because if you look at the vote totals, there's almost always a lower threshold for Japan and for Mexico, because fewer people vote in those categories. It's always a high number of votes. And by votes, I mean like 200 max, so when you look at that's another thing. I want to close on that. When you look at the number of people who voted, the highest vote total throughout this entire thing was 199 votes, which went to Antonino Rocca and Miguel Perez. The second most vote totals was 198, which was to Sergeant Slaughter. So we can guess that about 200 people voted in this entire thing. At least 200 people. So if you count every vote as one unique vote, you got at least 200 people voted here. All right. Now, that might be fine for your sociology project in college, because you only need 100, right? You have an N of 100. You're doing pretty good. That might be great for your college, paper. If you can find a study that has a population of 100, that might be great, because I think it has to be over 30. So in order to be considered significant, 100 to be representative of the population. But by definition, this Hall of Fame is not supposed to be representative of the population. It's supposed to be representative of knowledgeable wrestling fans, former wrestlers, active wrestlers, historians, and journalists. And of those people, the Young Bucks were incredibly popular among those people. I'm floored by this. And I'm pretty sure, again, a decade and a half of Dave Meltzer pumping out Young Bucks propaganda. I'm pretty sure that has nothing to do with why the Young Bucks are so popular among reporters. I'm pretty sure that has nothing to do with that. Right? All right. What do you guys think? Let me know. I'll talk to you guys later.